Imagine a world where the balance of global power shifts, not to the usual suspects, but to a country that has spent decades quietly building its capabilities. That world may be closer than you think. India, with its dynamic population and growing economy, is on a trajectory that could change everything by 2025. But what does it take to truly be a superpower? Stay with us as we explore the opportunities, challenges, and realities of India's journey to the top. What if the key to becoming a superpower isn't just growth, but how you use it? India's economic growth is already capturing global attention. With the United Nations projecting a 6.6% GDP growth rate in 2025, India is positioned as a vital driver of global economic expansion. The numbers are compelling, but the story behind them reveals a mixed picture. The Reserve Bank of India's move to liberalize foreign exchange rules is a significant step toward positioning the rupee as a player in international trade. However, the rupee's persistent depreciation has created a tug-of-war between inflation management and growth stimulation. It's a precarious balancing act. On one hand, household consumption is rising, a testament to India's growing middle class. But on the other, consumer spending remains concentrated in luxury markets, leaving gaps in broader economic inclusion. Poor job growth and stagnant wages, especially in non-urban areas, are dragging down India's ability to fully capitalize on its economic potential.
How do you sort of see India's situation and who's to blame, as it were, for India's inflation? Is it that central bank, RBI, was behind the curve? Did it not do enough? Or how do you sort of see it?
So, I think without sort of pointing fingers, laying the blame, as you say, I think as you pointed out, across the world, we've had inflationary conditions, partly post-pandemic recovery, and partly, the wars and their effects. But I think if you look at India's inflation performance, to some extent, the biggest factor has been food, especially in recent times. And, that's something that obviously the central bank has to keep in mind, which is why we target headline consumer price inflation, but is less directly within its control. That doesn't mean it can ignore it, because if food inflation stays high for a long enough period, what will happen is it'll get embedded in inflationary expectations and make it harder for the central bank to keep inflation under control.
Story moment. Let's paint a picture. Imagine a family in rural India trying to save for their child's education. Rising inflation means their savings lose value by the day, and limited job opportunities in their region leave them struggling to invest in their future. It's these micro-stories that define the macroeconomic narrative. Can a political mandate rewrite a nation's destiny? The 2024 general election solidified the Bharatiya Janata Party's dominance with a manifesto built on bold promises.
भाजपा ने मैनिफेस्टो की सूचिता को फिर स्थापित किया है। ये संकल्प पत्र विकसित भारत के 4 मजबूत स्तंभ युवा शक्ति, नारी शक्ति, गरीब, किसान, इन सभी को सशक्त करता है।
Among the most ambitious are achieving a $5 trillion economy, implementing a uniform civil code, and securing permanent membership in the UN Security Council. However, ambition must meet execution. Policies like Make in India and Digital India have seen mixed results. While they've spurred innovation and investment in certain sectors, challenges in infrastructure and bureaucracy remain significant roadblocks. India has also taken steps to strengthen its geopolitical stance, aligning with like-minded democracies such as Japan, Australia, and the US under the Quad Alliance. Its leadership in the Global South, particularly in advocating for climate justice, has further cemented its role as a voice for emerging economies. But here's a lingering question. Can India's political will overcome its structural inefficiencies in time to capitalize on these opportunities? What if the future of technology isn't happening in Silicon Valley, but in Bengaluru? India's technological advancements are reshaping the global narrative. The Indian Space Research Organization ISRO has been leading the charge. After achieving the Chandrayaan-3 lunar landing, ISRO recently completed a satellite docking mission, a feat matched by only a handful of nations. Beyond space, India's tech industry is flourishing. Bengaluru, dubbed the Silicon Valley of Asia, continues to attract global tech giants, with startups sprouting at an unprecedented rate. Companies like Infosys, Wipro, and Tata Consultancy Services are no longer outsourcing hubs. They're innovation centers, driving global transformation. India is also poised for an electric vehicle revolution. Automakers are gearing up to launch nearly a dozen new EV models by 2025, targeting premium segments. What's unique is the government's aggressive incentivization, including subsidies for EV buyers and investment in charging infrastructure. While global EV demand is slowing, India's market, driven by a burgeoning middle class, offers a bright spot for manufacturers. Can a nation lead without wielding hard power? India's geopolitical strategy is as much about economic diplomacy as it is about military strength. Initiatives like the International Solar Alliance, ISA, showcase India's ability to lead on global issues like renewable energy. Meanwhile, its participation in the Quad Alliance and strategic partnerships with ASEAN countries reflect its growing influence in the Indo-Pacific region. However, there's a softer side to this story. Through small-ticket equity investments, India is bringing financial inclusion to the forefront. Programs like the Securities and Exchange Board of India's 250 rupee systematic investment plans are democratizing financial markets for rural populations, a strategy aimed at building resilience from the ground up. Every giant has its vulnerabilities. What are India's? While India's rise is inspiring, significant challenges remain. Currency volatility. The weakening rupee has complicated monetary policy, making interest rate cuts less effective. Shrinking middle class. Economic inequality continues to widen, with the middle class struggling to keep up with rising costs. Infrastructure deficit. Despite strides in urban development, rural areas remain underfunded and underserved. But these challenges are not insurmountable. India's demographic dividend, a youthful population of over 1.4 billion, could be the game changer. Strategic investments in education, healthcare, and technology could unlock untapped potential, fostering innovation and economic growth. The future isn't set in stone, but India's path could pave the way for a new global order. By 2025, India's role on the world stage could look drastically different. With the right combination of policy reforms, technological investments, and strategic alliances, the nation has the potential to redefine global leadership. However, success depends on addressing its internal disparities and maintaining a focus on inclusive growth. Closing thought. Picture this. It's 2025. India has successfully launched the world's first solar-powered satellite, doubled its EV production, and established itself as a leading voice in global policy. This is the India that could shape the 21st century. So, will India become the next global superpower? It's a story still being written. What do you think will define India's rise, or hold it back? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the world's biggest questions. The next chapter of global history might just begin here.